Don't ask me too technical question on accounting or anything like that because I do not know if I can answer, but personal stuff is fine. Yeah. So I see there's more than 80 people in this session.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
We're
Okay.
expecting like 100 something participants will be in the session only.
Okay. Cool. That's quite a lot. Wow. And you guys are all first year, second year, third year university students?
I am second year student.
And I'm the third year. We also, yes.
Accounting students or economics or finance?
Accounting student.
We are all accounting students.
Good, good. Accounting is a good path to go to.
Yes.
Yes, a little bit difficult. But yeah, manageable.
June, I'm also having my coffee.
Oh yeah, yeah. I have to. I can't survive without coffee, especially in the morning.
We'll wait for a bit for the participants to join in.
Okay, no worries. It's still early. Yeah.
Miss June, actually we have quite a few of international students here.
Mm.
They are actually from Philippines.
Okay.
Yeah.
And are they studying in Malaysia
No.
or studying in Philippines?
They are studying in Philippines. They are joining us our webinar session. Yeah. Webinar.
Cool. So we have a campus in Philippines. Or because it's now online, that's why they are all in Philippines.
Yeah, they want to join webinars that will provide e-certificate. So they found ours, so they registered for it. Quite a few of them as well. At first, we were quite shocked too because we didn't expect that they would know our event.
Okay. So everybody is interested to find out about the career as an accountant.
Yeah.
Okay, because you guys having second thoughts or because you guys do not know what an accountant does or just let me have a gauge.
I think it's more to something like don't know what the future lies.
Okay.
Yeah. One
What's the next, the tuition and so on.
Okay. Interesting. So I took up accounting basically because I like numbers. I like dealing with numbers. And so since young, somehow I just had this inclination I would do accounting, right? My mom always wanted me to become a doctor, but I cannot deal with biology. So I end up as accountant now. Is it the right path? Is it the I think it depends on the individual as well, right? Whether you have interest and passion for it as well. But I would say for sure a lot of hard work.
Yes.
So be prepared for the hard work. Yeah, I think in terms with any other profession out there, doctor, lawyer, etc., also naturally a lot of hard work have to put in, right? So.
But I think it's every Asian parent's dream to have their children to become a doctor.
Yeah. I cannot. I mean, blood is the sight of blood is okay, but you know, like when you watch Grey's Anatomy or something, when they start cutting up, I have to close my eye because I cannot. So doctor is definitely out.
Maybe we could try another path, doctor of philosophy.
But now they say counseling is quite a good career path. Doctor for mental health, right?
Yeah, very true. But a lot of people are scared to even seek professional help if they have any anxiety, some kind. I mean, it's very common nowadays to have mental health issues, right? But the thing is, people are very afraid to actually seek professional help. Like in terms of, they know they have some kinds of anxiety symptoms, right? But the thing is, they are so afraid of the charges, of all sorts of things that comes with it. But it's very, very important for us to actually take care of our mental health, especially now, like
Yep.
COVID.
I think
We are-
everybody is still taboo over mental health, right? People still.
Yeah, the stigma is still there.
Mm, mm. And we do definitely have to take care of our brain.
Yeah.
It's very important, right?
Yes.
So what is this QR code for?
This is
For attendance.
The Unimas student attendance. And the
So do you
outside
get
will
like,
be
do you guys monitor your attendance points or something, or how does it work?
Yes, because they will get the e-certificate.
Ah, okay, okay.
But actually, since UMass has an app where the students, it's easier for us because we just make a QR code and then they scan um, using the phone. Even for classes and all, we just scan. So there's no need to fill in a Google form or something like that. So it's much more easier, I think.
Okay. Technology has changed now
Yeah.
compared to my days. I wonder if I go to university now, how is it like? Everything online, right?
yes.
But you're sitting for your exam soon, right?
Yeah, but those exam is not the same as being in a university, going for classes, having that interaction, right? I always miss my university days.
Which
Be
is
nice
what
to go back to class one day.
But we do miss being physically in the campus, like walking around the campus with the friends,
Very different right now, sitting at home.
having
Yeah.
lunch. Okay, I think it's 10 o'clock already, and then we have 114 participants in.
Wow. Wow.
Okay.
Okay.
Let me introduce to you our moderators for today will be Mr. Hedi and Miss Ishan. I'm the event director. I'm just here to support them. Okay. Hedi and Ishan, you ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
We start?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
And I start now.
Sure, Ishan.
Hello everyone and good morning. Welcome to our webinar series for the second day, and this morning is the first session for today. We will have Baker Hughes with us, and I hope you guys looking forward to this session. And for attendance, please scan the QR code or you may fill the Google form that has been provided in the chat box for manual attendance. And before our session start, a gentle reminder to all participants, please mute your microphone unless you need to speak to prevent disruption during the sharing. And you are allowed to close your camera if you have internet connection problem during the session. The feedback form will be provided in the chat box at the end of the session, and all participants are required to fill in the form. And during presentation, you may type a question in the Slido platform that will be provided in the chat box. Please make sure you are in the best decency, such as wearing proper attire, as we have a photo session with the speakers later on. And thank you for your attention and cooperation. We will start in a few minutes.
Okay. Assalamualaikum and a very good morning. My name is Hedi and this is my friend Sadatul, your moderator for today. And welcome to the webinar series with Baker Hughes. First and foremost, webinar series with the team Mind the Gap is held in conjunction with Unimas Accounting Week to give an in-depth knowledge and understanding on the career path and the significance of having professional recognition in the accounting field.
For the second day of our webinar series, we are honored to have our esteemed speakers for today, Ms. Chun Mei Law, who is currently the Global Revenue Lead in Global Finance Organization of Baker Hughes and has served various roles since her joining in 2006. Our second speaker is Ms. Lysandra Gabriel, is a final year student in Bachelor in Finance and was a Baker Hughes intern and currently an ambassador of Unimas. So for today, Ms. Chun Mei will share what is a career as professional accountant and auditor so that we can take a glimpse about this topic from a professional's perspective, and followed by a sharing session with Ms. Lysandra about her journey with Baker Hughes. But before we start our session, we will have a photo session with our speakers first. So for all participants, please open your cameras So technical team, on your cue.
Test, test. 1, 2, 3, test. All right. Count of one. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay, freestyle. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
Thank you, technical team. And without further ado, the floor is yours, Miss Junmei.
Hello, good morning, everyone. Well, I wasn't expecting such a huge crowd, so thank you for your participation and thank you for inviting me to this forum. I am very honored to represent Baker Hughes, just to talk about career in Baker Hughes, as well as I've been in both the accounting world as well as the auditing world, so I can talk about both, I guess. So I will just, can I share my slide? Hang on, let me open up my
Sure.
screen. You guys can hear me well, right?
Clear, Miss Jun.
Okay, so basically, I will start off just talking a bit about Baker Hughes because I think not many people may have heard of our company name, right? Basically, when we talk about oil and gas industry, we normally think of Petronas, Shell, BP. Baker Hughes actually work for these companies in assisting them to research and explore for the availability of oil, as well as various turbo machinery that we use to support the oil and gas industry. So we, Baker Hughes, are energy technology company, right? So we are taking energy forward. The main goal of the company is to make safer, cleaner, and more efficient energy moving forward, green energy, right? Not just on oil and gas, considering that oil and gas would eventually be scarce. So we are focusing on other form of energy, taking that forward to make it a better place for the people and the planet. Now, I'm not at the liberty to share too much information in case I get um, dinged by the legal department. So basically just a couple of information on the Baker Hughes company, which I got from our company website. So I'm not sharing anything too personal that I'm not allowed to share. So this just to give you guys some insight. We are a global company. We are actually based in Houston and London, with in more than 120 countries, right? And Malaysia is obviously one of the main hub for Baker Hughes. We always in the oil and gas industry, obviously the priority is always on perfect HSNE days, which is usually the measurement for a health and safety day, right? So where everybody goes home safely, there is no danger to the environment, no one is hurt in their job, and that is one of the main metrics all oil and gas company measure us by. And like 54,000 employees around the world. Wow. We are huge, right? So just a bit of background of the finance centers. The Baker Hughes Finance Organization is split into various functions based on the finance that we provide to the company. So there is the tax department, there is the treasury department, there is financial planning, and where I work in is generally where all the accountants work in, right? We call it the Global Finance Organization, which is a bit like a shared service center. So the main hub for the Global Finance Organization is based out of Budapest and in Malaysia. Malaysia being the biggest one, we have around 600 over employees working in Malaysia just for the finance center alone. So just to give a bit of overall background, there is a huge career possibility that exists just in Malaysia itself now. Now, a bit about myself, right? So as you can see, my name is Junmei Loh. I'm a Malaysian based out of Kuala Lumpur now. I graduated from the University of Western Australia back in 1998. So now I feel a bit ancient. um, so I studied basically like most of you guys. I studied Bachelor of Commerce, majoring accounting and finance. I also have a minor in business law because I do like law, but I somehow just didn't have the financial resource to go and study law back then. But law to me is always quite interesting. And in a way, I always feel the accounting world is a bit like the law world. It's like a legal world, but it's just for accounting, right? So we have our accounting standards to govern the way we do our job. So it is, in my mind, a bit like working in a legal environment, just from the, but you deal more with the numbers side, right? So when I graduated, naturally I follow the path of most people back in those days, which is to join one of the big four accounting firms, right? And luckily for me, I managed to get into Ernst & Young, based in Kuala Lumpur back then. And as you can see from my career progression, I started with Ernst & Young. I worked there for about 7 years, I think. Yeah, so I gradually moved from an audit associate to a senior associate all the way to a manager, and I left as an audit manager. Now, a lot of people back in those days would not have taken the professional audit route. They might have taken the current route, like a lot of our Baker Hughes employees now, they start with the shared service environment. To say which is better, I would think it doesn't matter which path you join, whether you join an external audit environment, whether you join a shared service environment, you will still be learning a lot, and it will still be beneficial for your future career, right? Obviously, from an auditing point of view, you learn different skill sets, and then from an accounting shared service environment, you do learn different skill sets. But for me, as you can see, I started off back then just following the crowd and just joining the external audit environment. I do really like what I do in a Big Four environment. There are a lot of people that you can interact with, the same with the shared service now. But back then in the 1990s, early 2000s, I think a shared service environment don't really exist back then, especially not in the scale that we have now in Baker Hughes in Malaysia. Now, after spending 7 years in a Big Four environment, and I will tell you the amount of effort you have to put into your job, the long hours that I work, eventually, even though I reached a managerial level, I was very happy with what I was doing. But in the long run, I don't see myself being a partner of a Big Four. And that's the final visual you see yourself if you continue working in a Big Four environment, right? Um, to be a partner in a Big Four environment, you really have to strive to bring in a lot of business into the industry, into the firm. You have to expand your network. You have to be able to deal with the customer, negotiating account, auditing fees, negotiating jobs, in bringing in new customers. And I don't see myself as that type of career path growth, right? To me, if I wanted to do sales and marketing, which is what my dad specializes in, I wouldn't have studied so hard and joined an accounting environment. So if I want to be an accountant, I don't really want to be in a partnership role where I have to constantly deal with business, constantly deal with customers and sell. So by the time I reached my managerial level, 7 years in a firm, I decided partnership was not the way for me. And so I started looking outside, and one of my ex-colleagues started recommending me this role as a finance manager with Baker Hughes, also based in Malaysia. So I joined Baker Hughes in 2006. Now, back then, Baker Hughes is not as big a company as it is now. We have recently merged with GE Oil and Gas. So back then in 2006, Baker Hughes was, if you guys are familiar with the term, we were more we were not centralized from the accounting function. We were very segregated in terms of the product lines that you work for, in terms of the company, the countries that you look after, right? So I was the drilling fluids finance manager. I looked after Southeast Asia business, and everything in the company was very fragmented. Each product line has their own accounting policy. Each product line has their own ERPs. Nothing was standardized within the company. It was just a very different environment than it is now. So I spent 2 years in a finance manager role. Can say I like it, can say at the same time I wasn't really, I guess one of the reasons why I moved out of the role was basically I wasn't getting along with my current boss, right? And it was quite funny because at that point in time, 2 years into the role, internal audit for the company decided to set up a small branch in Malaysia. And because I had a few dealing with the internal auditors in my company, because my auditing skills was still very strong in me back then, they approached me and they asked me, do I want to be the manager for the internal audit function that they were setting up in Malaysia? So I joined the internal audit team. I moved from the finance team over to the internal audit team, which is very rare back then. Most people start their career with the company in the audit function, move out to the accounting function, but I was the reverse. I joined the accounting function and then I moved into the internal audit function. Now I spent, as you can see from my slide here, I spent almost 11 years with the internal audit department. Now, that wasn't really my career aspiration, if you ask me back then, but I do like what I was doing in internal audit. Now, the thing that I really, really like about working with Baker Hughes is the credibility that we have as an organization, right? So when you're in internal audit, your focus is to look at the internal controls within the company to make sure that the controls are working properly. There is no chance for a fraud to happen. Money doesn't go out the door without proper scrutiny, right? And it was very enlightening in the internal audit role, I felt, because there was a lot of scrutiny in our audit findings. Our audit findings are rated high, moderate, and low. And you can see the business will adopt to your finding and they will make changes to make sure the high risk, moderate risk findings are totally eliminated, right? So you can see the way the company progress based on the suggestions and the work that you have done from the internal audit perspective. And I stayed in the internal audit department 11 years, mainly because I was also given a chance to be the director for the whole internal audit Eastern Hemisphere organization, and I was moved over to London. I spent 5 years in London, where I head the internal audit function, overseeing our office, our team in London as well as in Malaysia. That was one of the most significant milestones of my career, and the chance to be posted overseas, especially in a city as nice as London. It was a really nice chance that the company has given me to have that foreign exposure, right? Because before that, I think the only other foreign city that I lived in was in Perth in Australia during my university days. So being able to have the chance to have a life in London, to manage a very diverse team. Obviously, if you are based in a different country, the rules, the regulation, and especially when it comes to things like hiring personnel, the diversity that is included there, and you have to be fair in terms of how you interview and recruit people. Those were actually very interesting knowledge outside of accounting and auditing that I gained from being able to work in a foreign country. So I spent 5 years in London. I had to come back because work permit issues. I couldn't renew further the work permit in London, so I had to come back to Malaysia and continue the role, but based out of Malaysia. And then come 2020 January, I decided 11 years in internal audit was actually way more than what I anticipated myself to stay in. So I was given the chance to be part of the shared service environment that has been growing since 2017 in Malaysia, and to head the revenue function for the global finance organization. So my current role is the global revenue lead, whereby I oversee all the revenue activities for Baker Hughes globally. So that includes all regions in Baker Hughes except Russia, just because of language dependencies, right? So I oversee for all the processes, the internal controls, the account reconciliation that relates to revenue and account receivable. So when we talk about revenue and account receivable, obviously we're looking at the revenue recognition criteria are met, and that is one of the most heavily scrutinized GAAP, I would say, or accounting standards out there, because revenue is the most biggest and most important number in any organization, and as well as ensuring that the internal controls surrounding revenue recognition, right? We don't simply recognize revenue or inflate our revenue if we don't meet the REFRAC criteria. Also looking at the bad debt provision, looking at collectabilities of that, looking at the various customers that we have out there, and how they pay us and when they can pay us on time, and etc. And also obviously looking at account reconciliations, which is one of the most important control tool in ensuring that all the balance sheet account is correctly stated. So that's just a brief background of my career in the last 22 years. As you can see, I do have quite a significant portion of my career is spent with the auditing environment, and now that I'm back in the accounting environment, it's a very different atmosphere, a very different learning curve, but both equally as challenging from my point of view. So and you can see from my screen here, I have quite a few professional qualifications. So I spent my first 3 years after graduating. I spent that time really studying for the CPA Australia, which is sponsored by Ernst & Young. So I was bonded with Ernst & Young for 3 years. Now studying, working part-time, working and studying part-time. Very, very challenging, especially when we are in a external audit environment. We work really, really long hours, and we still have to find the time to study and make sure you pass your exam within that 3 years to be qualified. That actually takes up a lot of dedication from all of us, right? And then when I joined the internal audit function, I joined as a manager. The internal audit function is very they look very heavily on the internal audit certification, which is a US certification. So the certified internal auditor exam is actually very US eccentric based. And because I was a manager for a team of 10, 15 people, in order to encourage my team to take up the certification, I have to take it up as well, right? I have to be. So I always learned that as a people leader, as a manager of a team of people, you have to show that motivation yourself to do it in order to encourage your team to do so. You kind of walk the talk, right? Don't just make people take the exam, but you yourself don't take it. So I took the exam. It took me a couple of years to finish the certified internal auditor, basically because it was not my first certification. It was something that it was nice to have, and it was something that's really nice when I finally passed the exam, right? It to me, certifications demonstrate your commitment to your profession, right? To your commitment to make yourself a better person, to your profession, to want to learn more about your profession, and that respect that you give to that profession that you're in. So certification in my mind is actually quite important, and it does give you a niche compared to other people who are not certified. Obviously, if you have heard some of the career talks by some of our Baker Hughes employees, not everyone go through the certification path, but I'm one of those who have quite a few certification, and I am proud that I spend the time and the effort to further enhance myself, right? And show my dedication to the profession. I also actually took the Certified Information Systems Auditor, which is very different from an accounting and financial audit perspective, right? This is learning about IT, learning about information systems, which I'm not an expert in, but I was groomed from my mentor back then that in order to ever be the head of internal audit, which may or may not happen one day, but yeah, in order to prepare yourself to be the head of internal audit don't just look at the financial side of the business. They can look at everything that is relating to the business where there is internal controls involved, right? And one of the most important criteria now, obviously, is the information system. We are going through an IT environment. We're going through an IT change and data analytics change. So we have to understand information system in order to understand how we can protect the company, right? So I took that certified information system auditor examination back in 2016. One of the toughest exam I ever took. I came out of the exam brain dead. Couldn't think for a few days. It was really, really tough. I passed the exam. I was so happy. I didn't expect it, but I passed the exam, but I did not qualify to call myself a certified auditor because I did not have the work experience to come with it. So in every certification, the exam is just one part of it, right? You have to have at least 3 years of relevant work experience, which I unfortunately was not able to obtain. I couldn't move into a IT role at a director level. It was too high level to be doing IT because I don't really know what they do in that sense, even though I took the exam, right? But anyways, to me, it was not a waste. At least I did learn about information systems, which I probably wouldn't have done if I did not take the exam. Now, as Lisana mentioned earlier, I am still actually doing another certification now, since the last I took was 2016. So this year, I'm doing the Certified Financial Analyst, which most of you may have heard, the CFA, which is also another US-based certification, but more towards analyzing financial data, to be analyzing investments in companies versus corporate investment versus government investment, bonds, equity, and stuff like that. which is what you learn as an accounting and finance student. But I've graduated for 20 years, right? So to me, it was a very nice refresher course now, reading through the materials. I do not know whether I'll pass the exam. It's actually a lot of materials to read, but I'm one of those that if I don't push myself to take an exam, I won't go and read up the materials. I won't keep my mind like in every profession, right? You have to be abreast with the current situations, the current technology, the current happenings. So continuously taking an exam and a certification, even though you may not pass it, to me, the knowledge is still inside you, right? So it is still worth the time and the effort. Passing it will be great, but it is not like I said, right? I already have my CPA Australia, which is the main one I need as an accountant. Whether or not I pass the CFA does not really change my job scope in that sense, but it will be a nice to have. But I'm just learning it for the sake of learning, because I believe that we have to keep continuously learning. And you will realize in the accounting and finance profession, the learning doesn't stop once you graduate. The learning continues, and as part of the requirements of a certified accountant, you have to have at least 40 hours of continuous learning that you log in every year to demonstrate that you are keeping abreast with whatever that's happening in the current world now. So your education don't stop just because you have gotten your degree, right? That's why I said accounting is a profession. We are all professionals, and by being a profession, we obviously have to spend a lot of time and dedication to build ourselves up as a professional to represent this body, right? So I'll pause there. If there is any questions, any queries, I have put a few cute logos here at the side, basically just to represent my interest in what I do every day. So I'm a yoga practitioner for the last 15-16 years, and if anybody out there have not tried yoga, I strongly encourage you guys to try yoga. It is a very good, how should I say it? It helps with the mental clarity. It helps to calm yourself down. It helps to learn to let go of a lot of things that may or may not necessarily serve you, right? So to me, yoga has guided me a lot in trying to be a better person each day. Obviously, I love cats now. I have one cat at home who is just 1 year old. The joy of my day, every day is to take care of him. I love reading and I love coffee. So that is just a brief background of my side interests, right? I don't think all of us should just be governed by work. We obviously have our own life balance as well. So it's not just about work all the time. Work is there to help guide us to be a better person, but should not be our 100% focus in life. Yeah. So I'll pause there if anyone has any questions.
To all the participants, you guys have any inquiries, you guys can put a question in the side of platform so we can view it later.
So I'm sharing my screen now, so I wouldn't have access to view the questions. So if you could just read out if there's any.
Yes, we do. Yeah. Afterwards, we will share the screen of the Slido platform for you to view together. Yes.
Okay.
At the end of the session.
Okay. So whilst we wait for some people to have any questions, I can just go on to I just have one more last slide, right? I will call these reminders to myself, as well as maybe to all of you out there, if you think of asking me what are the key success factors, right? I'm a very simple person. I'm one of those people who don't believe in getting involved in all the office politics that happen in the company. I mean, if you watch all the TV programs out there, there's bound to be some form of office politics in any environment, right? I don't really get myself involved in all those. I listen, but I don't really go and spread rumors around. I don't go and judge people or backstab people. I try not to do all those. To me, it's just doing my job to the best ability that I can. Just put your head down and do your work. The reward will come in once you put in the effort. That's what I always believe in. Every day I remind myself to obviously be a better version of myself. Now, being a better version in terms of work, in terms of your professional life, uh, as long as you do something each day that would make you feel better of yourself and not waste your time, I guess. So at the end of 2021, I sat down in October and I think in October 2021, and I think back to myself, what have I done in 2021? Really, 2021 was a year that we did not expect the pandemic to be worse. We spent more time sitting at home than anything else. And I literally almost wasted the whole year away not doing much except work and work lah, right? And then it comes to a point that I think to myself, if I look back at each year, what do I have to remember myself, right? 2021 was just a really wasted year, which was one of the reasons why I signed up for CFA to take the exam in May this year, is to just do something that would improve myself rather than just focus on the work, right? The work is good, but at the same time, you must have something else at the side to boost yourself. And I'm also one of those that I live with a mother who is a dementia patient, and it really brings to my mind the importance of keeping your mind active at any age, right? So taking the exam to study again, to learn again, is to me a very good step to keep your mind active, so that you don't become complacent or you become idle. So really, to me, every day, maybe not every day, maybe every week, do something that would make you a better version of yourself. The other thing that I always remind myself is we always have to work hard. Like I said, being 20 over years in the accounting profession, it has not been an easy career path. For all of you that are seeking to do an accounting and finance role, I strongly encourage it. It is a very rewarding path, but at the same time, it also requires a lot of hard work, a lot of dedication, a lot of time that you spend to build your career, right? I don't think I in my career I probably don't have the luxury of working an 8 to 5 type of role all the time. I work actually quite long hours, even up to today. Now that I support a global role, I'm even required to work even slightly longer hours. But to me, it's about working smart at the same time, right? Challenging yourself when you do any task. There must be a better way to do it more efficiently, right? Don't just keep working hard at it. You can work 50, 60 hours a week and not achieve anything. You can work hard in that sense, but not achieve anything. But if you work smart, that's where you will see the reward coming in, right? So always challenge yourself to find ways to better improve what you're doing on a day-to-day basis. And again, to me, being from an auditor perspective as well, integrity and honesty is obviously the most important criteria in our career, in the profession, especially in the auditing environment. They hold you as at a higher standard than the rest of the employees in the company, because you are the internal auditor. You are like the cop or the police in any country, right? So you are the one overseeing the internal controls of the company. So you have to be operating at a higher integrity than the rest of the employees in the business. So I guess one of the main criteria to be an auditor is, in that sense, you must have that very strong integrity value in you. Yeah. Obviously, the other part for me to succeed in what I'm doing now is to have a positive mindset, right? One of the main advice I have gotten that I can never forget from one of my partners in the Ernst & Young was this fact that she always drive into us, right? When you're given a task or you're given a job to do, don't keep thinking of the reasons why you cannot do it. So stop thinking of the cannot, and then you will start thinking of the ways that you can achieve it. Now, obviously, there are a lot of times where we are supposed to manage priorities, manage work commitments. There are a lot of time pressure, and you can have all sorts of excuse of why you cannot complete a task, right? And the minute you set your mind to think cannot, your mind is not going to think of ways to do it anymore. So the first reaction that you have in yourself is try not to think of the cannot, but keep reminding yourself, think of how you can do it. Obviously, there are some things you really cannot do, and it's not within your control, and that is fine. But I guess the main notion to train your brain is to don't say cannot straight away, right? And then the last two is just maybe just me as a person. I am one of our main finance trait in the finance for Baker Hughes is this humble confidence, right? To be confident at the same time, to have the humility to accept that you are not perfect, that you are obviously going to make some mistakes in life, and just not be too arrogant in your conduct, in your day-to-day conduct. And my last advice to everyone, if you have any doubt, again, don't think of the cannot. I would think that if there's any doubt whether you should apply for a role, whether you should change to a different role, or whether you should accept a different challenge, I always believe just do it. Just bring yourself to do it, and you will figure out a way to do it, right? So like when I was offered the chance to be the director of internal audit in London, my first thought was, whoa, this role is just too big, right? I cannot visualize myself managing a team in London. And you know the mindset, I'm just an Asian girl going to London, you know, and I did face a lot of pushback from my team at that point in time. They're like, who are you, you know, this Asian girl from this small country in Malaysia coming to London to manage us, like. But really the mind was telling me, I'm young, my parents don't depend on me back then, I'm free to go, I should just do it. I should just go, experience it, leave it. If I do well, I do well. If I don't do well, at least I gave myself the chance to do it, right? So as long as you put yourself to just do it and don't think of all the excuses not to do it, there's no harm in trying. That's what I always try to remind myself. And I guess this is about what I have for today. So I'm open if you guys have any questions you want to clarify with me, any queries, any concerns, and if you have any doubt in yourself about the accounting career path, I'm here to answer whatever you may have.
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Miss June, you love the what's that? There's echo. Is it alright?
Yep.
Okay. So I was wondering, since you love to read books, do you have like favorite book, or do you have some books that you could recommend to us, maybe?
I don't really have a favorite book that I can think of off my head. I used to read books that I find what I call easy reading, right? So being female, a girl, I used to read all the cheat lit books, like the Confessions of a Shopaholic. I finished all the series.
Wow.
Easy reading, right? Because you spend 9 to 10 hours of your day working, right? Reading was to kind of like unwind yourself. For me, I always read before I sleep. I read a few pages before I sleep, right? So I don't really do heavy reading. So most simple stuff to read, like all the chick lit book I used to read, and then now I move on to more mystery, more psychology thriller, they call it, I guess, more suspense type of book. Because before that, when I when I used to travel quite a fair bit and I stay on my own in a hotel, right, I don't dare to read a lot of those mystery book because I kind of scare myself. so so I always read the more happy type of books. But now that we don't travel a lot, the last 2 years I've been reading more of the criminal psychology type of thriller type of books.
All right. Thank you, Miss June. Okay, Isan.
Uh, looks like Miss Alessandra has a connection problem, so we proceed to ask Miss Junmei for one or two questions first before we proceed to Q&A session at the end of the session first.
Okay.
Okay, so Miss Jun, here is the question from one of our participants. Could you share the differences, work-life balance, benefits, etc., for a fresh grad looking to go into audit and SSC in Baker Hughes?
Okay. Very good question. No, I didn't ask myself that question when I joined the Big Four. I just followed the path back then, right? Follow the majority. I would say that, and I'll give an example, right? I have a cousin who looked she's like 20 years younger than me, so she looks very highly at me as a role model for her life, which was very very nice. She obviously wanted to be an accountant like me, and she followed almost the same path as me, and she did graduate as an accountant, in a Bachelor of Accounting degree, right? But she went and did internship in one of the Big Fours, and it's quite funny because she just cannot bring herself to work the number of hours that was required as part of the Big Four. So my advice to all of you out there, in your first few years of your career, to me, that is the time where you learn the most, right? In your first few years, when you graduate and you step into the working profession, you are not expected to know everything. Obviously, you should have that humble confidence in you. You should ask questions that you need to ask, because no one expects you to know everything, and so no question that you ask is a stupid question, right? Let's just put it that way. Some people, when they come into work, they don't dare, especially in a new environment, they don't dare to ask questions. They try to stumble upon it themselves, and they waste a lot of time, and they may still eventually get it wrong, right? But I always feel that if you are in a new environment, a new role, a new company, just ask all the questions you need to ask, because people don't expect you to know a lot anyways, right? And the thing we need to always bear in mind with the accounting and auditing profession is the first few years of your life, I will tell you, is tough. It's going to be tough. The hours that is expected of you is obviously going to be quite a lot. Again, back in those days, I don't work 8 to 5 environment. I work really, really lot of hours. I work weekends as well. But it is what it is, to build that career path for yourself, and to build the knowledge and the experience for yourself as well. If you come into the profession and expect things to be very easy, 8 to 5 type of job, there is certain roles like that. I'm not saying that it doesn't exist, but I also feel that if you do not put in the time to learn, then you can see your growth is not going to be as steep as the people who really put in a lot of effort to move and grow themselves. So I always feel, and my advice, even to my brother when he first started work, is you are young, you have a lot of time, and don't feel that you are losing out because you are putting all this time at work. It is fairly useful and fairly important that we we really set the time out to learn, right? And no task that is given to you is going to be useless. Some people think that this task is below me, not my level, I don't want to do. I don't believe in that. Every task you have something to learn from. And again, it's the attitude, right? That you put yourself out there. It's the attitude to willing to learn and grow yourself. Now, whether it is easier life in a Big Four or easier life in a shared service environment, I would say it is probably a better work-life balance in a shared service environment, that's for sure. So in a shared service environment, just to give you all some perspective, right? A shared service environment like ours in Baker Hughes, we are split by different functions. So I hit the revenue function. There is the inventory and asset function, fixed asset function. There is the payroll function. There is the general accounting function. So we have about cash and bank functions. So we have about 10 different functions within the global finance organization. Now, the main important task that we have is obviously the month-end closing of the books. That's where we are very heavily involved in assisting the organization as a whole, is to complete the month-end closing. And we close the books really fast compared to a lot of companies out there. So our involvement in the close process is probably the first 5 to 6 days of the month, where we work really long hours to meet the reporting requirements, and to be able to finalize our results really fast. So the first 5 to 6 days of the month is where most of us will have quite a lot of overtime. And then the remaining 2 to 3 weeks of the month, life is a bit easier. That's where you get your work-life balance. That's when work is more 8 to 5 type of hours. It's just the first week of each month that takes up a lot of effort and time from us. Now in the Big Four, it's different. I've to be honest, I've been out of the Big Four environment for so long. I can't really say exactly what is the hours that they do, but I do know that they do quite long hours throughout the year.
So I guess it's a little bit struggle for those who have introvert personality to adapt in the new environment, or asking question from the superior or supervisor, something like that.
Would you believe it? If you ask any of my university friends or even my high school friends, I am actually a very introverted personality. Back then, I don't say a lot of things. I'm always kind of in the background, just listening and yeah, I think active listening lah. I don't put myself up there and question a lot.
Yes.
But my personality, I felt change as I embrace different roles in my career. And so I believe that somehow your work, your priorities in life will make you be a different person. So you may be an introvert at one point in your life, but in order to succeed in one part of your career, or even to be a parent, for example, right? You go through different hardship in life, different challenges, and it kind of groom you to be different. And you change without you realizing it as well. So a lot of people that know me now, my friends that know me in the recent years, think I'm very outspoken. I will tell you I'm not like that when I was younger, right? So it is something that I guess I gained along the way, that I somehow change
Yes.
in that sense, right? And again, I've been through so many different roles in my career. I've also had the opportunity to travel quite a fair bit. I guess I missed out in explaining from an internal audit perspective, right? We travel around the various offices that we have globally. We conduct internal audits in those various offices that we have around the world. We meet a lot of different people. We travel 50-60% of the year. We are around in different countries, right? And that, in that sense, do open up my mindset to see things differently, to learn things differently, of course. And in that sense, you grow as a person, right? Because you see things very differently from other people as well. So maybe one of the things I should add to reminder to self, to all of you guys as well, is if you have the opportunity to travel, you should do it, right? Whether it is for personal travel, whether it is for work travel, I think traveling and seeing the world, it really exposes your mind. So if you think that traveling costs a lot of money, obviously now with the last 2 years with the pandemic, we can't travel so much. But as things ease up and as when we open back up again, I feel that if you need to prioritize some of your spending, try and travel at least once a year or something. It doesn't have to be expensive travel, right? It can be travel on a budget, but to see different part of the world, to see how different country, culture, people, interact with different people as well, does make a lot of difference to the way you think things.
All right, Miss June, thank you for answering the question. So, moving on to the next question. Do you have any advice for fresh graduate that looking for employment?
So, meaning during an interview or during or looking for the type of roles, or
For the employment, for the job that we can start off the
okay,
the job we can start off.
like I say,
So,
right, um, it'll be nice to know exactly which path you want to go, right? But sometimes, whether you want to go into an external audit environment, a shared service environment, consulting environment, it'll be nice to know exactly what you want to do and go towards that. But there are sometimes some of these things are also kind of beyond our control, right? I would say, being a fresh graduate, I would try I would try to open up to whatever possibility there is out there, right? Um, and when you go for a job interview as well, um, when I interview candidates, especially the fresh graduates one or those with only 2-3 years of work experience, I always try and look at them from their attitude, not really from the technical knowledge, and which is what I've been trying to groom my team as well, right? When you recruit people, I feel that the person's attitude is actually very, very important. Whether the person has a more positive type of mindset, willing to learn, willing to face challenges, those are actually things that you cannot really teach someone. You can always teach the technical part of it, right? The how to audit an account receivable, how to recognize revenue, all those things you can teach a person, but you cannot teach in terms of attitude. And so that is what I strongly encourage you guys when you go for interviews, um, to be genuine in your interview and to demonstrate a good positive mindset, right? Um, Genuine in the sense that don't, because someone say is like that and you just agree with it without whether or not that person is right or wrong, you should not really agree to it. So you must be able to demonstrate a more genuine perspective of yourself, right? Don't just give answers during interview that is very textbook like, right? um like I've interviewed people and I asked them why are they looking for a change in their career, and they will always answer, I've done 3 years of external audit. I've learned more than enough. I've done enough hours. I want to change. That really is not really what I'm looking for in an answer. I would probably prefer someone who shows me a genuine effort that, oh, I'm tired or auditing. I want to give myself a different challenge. I want to learn a different role. I mean, I would accept that more than someone who comes to me and say that I've done 3 years in auditing. I've learned everything. There's nothing more to learn.
Yeah, I guess it's being yourself, being ourselves, and being true to ourselves, right?
Alright.
I think, Hedy, we can move on to the next question.
Okay. So Miss Jones, for the next question, have you ever encountered a bad working environment, and how did you make it?
I did probably the now in Baker Hughes, I really love the work environment and the culture we have there, which is probably why I've been there for like 16 years, right? I like the fact that we have a very diverse team that we work with. The culture, the tone from the top is always of a very compliance in nature. The work-life balance that we get with working, and the flexibility that we get working in Baker Hughes, right? Now, to say of a hard time I encountered, definitely I think no job is going to be so straightforward, right? So if some of you have read through about Baker Hughes, you will see that because we are a US company, and it happens a lot in the US environment, there were a few proposed acquisition of Baker Hughes in the last couple of years. So back in 2014, if I remember correctly, 2014 or 2015, Baker Hughes was going to be acquired by one of our competitors, Halliburton, back then. And so when they announced the proposed acquisition of Baker Hughes, it was very, very demoralizing. So the years 2015, 2016 was really, I would say, probably one of the most hardship years in my career, where everybody was just very demoralized. The mood was really down, and then oil prices was down, so there was no increment. Thankfully, we still got our bonus, but those were the days that I think back was one of the hardest. And as a people leader, right, the hardest part is you have to motivate your team even though you yourself not very motivated, right? And the general environment back then was just so down and glum, but somehow we survived through it, right? So back in 2015 we had that Halliburton proposed acquisition, which after going through a couple of rounds of review by the Department of Justice in the US, it was they did not approve the acquisition because it would have created a possibility of a monopoly, or because Halliburton is number 2 in the oil and gas industry, merging with number 3, Baker Hughes, would have created a bit of a monopoly, anti-competitive environment in the US, as well as I think the EU also concluded the same, and so the whole merger did not happen. And then so that in 2016 we were told, okay, this merger is not going to happen. We were back on our own, and we had to rebuild the team. And by then, almost half of the good people had actually left Baker Hughes. So we had to start rebuilding the morale with the team, finding back our grounds again. And then only to be told around late 2016 that we were going to be acquired by GE, General Electric, and form a new company with the GE oil and gas business. So in 2017, we merged with the GE oil and gas business, and it was again a different environment for all of us to go through. Culture slightly different, work ethics slightly different, but we are finding our way now. So we are now somehow separated from GE now. If you go through and read about Baker Hughes, we have quite an interesting history in the last 5 years. We merged with GE Oil and Gas, and then we separated from GE Oil and Gas. And so now we are back standing on our own, a bigger company, a different company, but still using Baker Hughes name. Culture-wise, slightly different, but I still quite like what we have here, and hence I still haven't really looked for a job outside of Baker Hughes. I like the environment that we work in. Again, every job out there is going to be difficult. Every role out there has its own challenges, its own pressure, its deadlines, etc., etc. And really, it's just adjusting your mindset to be grateful for this opportunity to work in such a big company.
Yeah, I guess it's like even people have their ups and downs. So as a company also have
Yes.
their ups and
Yes.
downs. So it's just how life goes.
Correct. And being in an oil and gas industry, the one thing that is not so nice is the fact that we follow the cyclical business trends out there, right? So if oil price comes down, or if we go through a bit of a downturn in the economy, you can see the actions being put in place straight away, right? We will start cutting costs. We will also start cutting the workforce. Not really the accounting side of it, but more the engineer side of it, the direct customer side of it. We will see slowly, we will not have promotion, we will not have increments, salary increments for 1-2 years. Cost cutting will be very tight. We are not encouraged to simply spend money or simply travel, for example. And you do learn from all these cyclical trends that we have, right? Obviously, in the good times, increment will be there, bonus will be really good, but obviously in the bad times, you just have to ride it out, I guess, with the company. So you cannot expect it to be good all the way through, right?
The ups and downs. The next question, how to gain confidence to keep asking questions? Because sometimes we would think that others, we are bothered to think about what others will think about our questions that we ask.
But I would think that if you in any job or any meetings or any uh, presentation that you go through, right? Obviously, you know what the agenda is about. Try to do a bit of homework first at your end to prepare yourself. And if you have questions to ask, if you're going to always think that people think you're asking a stupid question, then you're never going to be able to ask any questions. So I normally, if I feel that I may not be confident enough to ask a question outright in front of everybody, then maybe ask it later, take it aside and speak to someone at the site later instead of in such a big crowd. But I also believe there is no really stupid question out there. Like, it's just how you phrase your question sometimes maybe might sound a bit stupid. But like I think one of the classic example I ever had of a fairly silly question, I would say, was when I was giving a training in Baker Hughes. And this was so just a bit of background, right? Baker Hughes, as you know, is an American company. We are governed by a lot of laws in America. And one of the biggest law that they have there, which some of you may or may not have heard, is this Foreign Corrupt Practices Act, FCPA. Now, the FCPA is the same as the UK one, which is the Anti-Bribery and Corruption Act. So basically, it is an act that prevents companies in America as well as Americans themselves. And companies in America also govern us because we work for Baker Hughes, right? Even though we are not Americans. So it prevents anyone in the company from giving a bribe to a non-US government official in order to obtain a business advantage. So that is the gist of the FCPA. And if you read through about FCPA, you will see that it is one of the very heavily scrutinized law in the US and is a criminal offense. And a lot of companies have been heavily penalized for violation of the FCPA. And Baker Hughes is one of them back in 2004, 2005 era. So I was giving a training on the FCPA. I do a lot of audits on the FCPA, so I'm quite well versed with the FCPA requirements. And when I was doing a training in Malaysia, one of the finance manager was arguing with me the fact that Petronas is not considered a government entity. Now, his argument, of course, is, and this is a colleague that was also that I also happen to know back in Ernst & Young, and we actually moved to Baker Hughes about the same time. And when he came out and keep insisting with me that Petronas is a private entity because it's listed in the KLSE, right? And I was a bit shocked with such a fairly silly remark in my mind because yes, Petronas is listed in KLSE, but who owns majority of Petronas? It's Khazanah. And who owns Khazanah is the government, right? Government definitely have a very, very strong interest in oil and gas, which is our main resource in this company, right? So you cannot come and say that Petronas is a non-US, a non-government official. It is clearly a government-linked company, and it falls under the FCPA because the FCPA is bribery for any non-US government. And so Petronas is on there. So to me, if you ask me of a silly question up to today, right? So 10 years later, I still remember the question was quite silly, especially coming from a finance manager. I was a bit shocked, right?
Okay. True. I guess we need to make how to gain confidence. We need to research our questions first, then
Yes.
think it through. Maybe ask those around who will know before getting asked like for the higher ups. For
Right.
those who are. I think since we are short of time, I think we will have maybe another two questions because Miss Lysandra will be having her sharing session as well, right?
Yep.
Okay, is
Sure.
that all right?
Yep.
Okay. So the next question, um, Miss June, your love of studying is admirable. Would you recommend how to develop our passion in learning?
Um, how to develop your passion in learning? Um, I guess to me, um, being human is to keep learning, right? I know some people are not very uh, textbook oriented, as my boss puts it. My boss himself does not have much certification right now. I always encourage the certification. I always encourage the learning. I encourage that to all my team, even to my cousins and everything. I feel that we have to embrace learning. I don't really know how to teach people to have the passion to learn though. But I guess what I'm trying to say is it is good to learn. It is good to put yourself out there, to challenge yourself to learn. Uh, to don't keep thinking that you have to pass. To fail is to me also part of learning, right? We learn from making mistakes, and that's the best learning we ever get, because we remember the mistakes that we have done. Um, all I'm saying is if you are really want to develop your career as a professional, then I would strongly encourage some form of certification that is relevant to the profession you want to develop. It again shows your commitment to the profession. It shows your drive to further improve yourself. And if you ever look for a job out there, it kind of differentiates you from a candidate that may not have that type of certification, right? Now in Baker Hughes, certification is not necessarily a priority. It was a priority for the internal audit team, but it is not a priority for the global finance organization. We do provide a lot of encouragement. We are associated with ACCA, as well as I think we are working towards association with CPA Australia. We do provide that type of encouragement to help you develop your personal your professional certification, but it is at this moment in time not a real requirement to move up the career ladder, in that sense. I feel that, and my boss is probably one of the very good examples to you guys out there as well. He's very different from me, but he does not really, as far as I remember, don't really have strong academic papers, but he is very street smart in that sense. So I guess different people go through different career path, right? No career path the same for everyone. Every one of us have our own way of doing our career. So um, if you lacking in one part, then I'm sure there's another part that compensates for it. So
Yes,
maybe I'm not so street smart, so that's why I'm more of a book smart person. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's learning is not that we have to learn in academics. Maybe just learn anything so that we'll keep on having the interest and the
Correct.
passion.
Correct. You don't have to learn everything just academically, right? And again, like I've been challenging my team, right? This year to set a personal development goal. Right now, I always feel that your goal in life shouldn't really be really work related. It would be nice, but also it does not have to be academic related. It can be anything, losing weight or even exercising more, taking up yoga. I strongly encourage people to do that. It is really doing small things in life to develop yourself in different ways, right? To be a better version of yourself. Like I say, it does not necessarily have to be academically, but it would be nice to have, right? So if I'm looking at resumes from different candidates, obviously those that will stand out will be those that did do some form of certification, who spend the time and dedication to do that certification. But in all honesty, it is not, as of now in Baker Hughes, it's not a necessity to be employed or to move up the career ladder. Now, different companies have different approaches. So some companies do require their finance manager or accounting manager to be certified, and so with that certification, it gives you better job opportunities, I guess.
All
Not
right.
every company is the same.
Okay. Thank you, Miss June. I guess
Thank
we'll
you for the time to listen to me.
yeah. It's very insightful. I really love this. It's like a coffee talk, but it's more chill. I guess we'll have our last question
Mhm.
before we move on to Miss Lysandra. Okay. I think this is for the students, both our international as well as the students in Unimas. So they asked, do Baker Hughes has branch in Kuching Sarawak? But I think as far as I remember, we have a one in Miri, right?
Yes.
And then they ask if do you accept interns that are from outside of Malaysia, and if you do, is it a work from home setup?
Okay. Um, so the first question is no, we do not have an office in Kuching. We have an office in Miri, but it is more the operational office, not the finance side of the business. So from a finance point of view, like I say, we are very heavily centralized in KL. Our main office is in Jalan Tun Razak area. We have about 600 or so people in the global finance organization just in KL alone. In Budapest, we have about 100 odd people. So KL is one of the biggest finance hub in the whole organization now. But unfortunately, we do not have finance presence in Miri, in Kuching, sorry. Now, in terms of internship, yes, we do have an internship program. Like Lysandra was part of our internship program, and I do encourage people out there to do, if you're interested to sign up for internship program. I would think the one with Baker Hughes is actually one of the very interesting internship program to join. Basically, just because of the fact that I've been in the Big Four, I've been an intern before in the Big Four myself. Uh, when I was an intern in the Big Four, the roles that I was given is very basic stuff, like photocopying or right. No, but back in those days, there's no computer generated stuff, right? You have to write down everything. So we were the one writing down all the stuff. Not really learning a lot from an auditing perspective, but from the internship that we have in Baker Hughes, we are told to always give them small projects to work on to challenge them to think outside the box, because interns are very fresh minded people, right? They can see things, they can think of things, they can analyze and create, and have more creativity in standardizing some of the work that we do, or finding enhancement in the work that we do. Because when you do the same task over and over again, right, somehow your mind just can't quite see from a different perspective anymore. Which is also one of the reasons that if you hear some of the career talks by the finance leaders in the company, a lot of us move around our roles, because one of it is because it's to encourage us to have a broader knowledge of the finance function, right? Finance is not just revenue related. There's treasury, there's tax, and etc. So we are encouraged to move around, basically just because our mind will become stale if you sit in that role for too long, right? You cannot see a bigger picture anymore. So in that sense, I kind of like the way we've structured in the finance organization in Baker, the fact that we are given a lot of opportunities to venture to different type of roles, and also like I've shown in my career path, the opportunity to be posted outside of Malaysia, right? If you are a good talent within the company and we want to grow you, we want to groom you, there are going to be opportunities to be posted outside of Malaysia. Because one of the ways to groom a person to learn is to be posted out of your comfort zone, right? Now, do we take internship from non-Malaysians? That one I am not very sure. I need to check with HR. I think might be a bit difficult because you will still need a work permit for the interns that are not Malaysians, right? Um, so that may pose a bit of a challenge, but I won't confidently answer that. I will need to check with HR, and I can get back to Lysandra on that. Whether we have internship for non-Malaysians. Now, everyone thinks that we are in a very work from home environment now. It doesn't matter which country we are based in, because we are all working at home. We're not physically present in an office environment, right? But in terms of employment, it doesn't work that way, right? So if you want to be part of, if you want to hire a non-Malaysian, we have to have a sort of work permit in order to put you in our employment, in our payroll. And so that's why it makes it difficult. We still need that work permit to go through the government. So we cannot just offer employment out to people, even though they may not be required to move to KL. Am I answering the question correctly? I think so.
Yes, June, for the insightful speech from Baker Hughes and explanation about more details of accounting proficiency. I'm sure most of the participants now more understand what you have been explaining. And I also agree that most of the participants are very interested to working with the Baker Hughes because it is a huge company. Before this, I also have joined the boot camp on the September. So on the webinar, on the bootcamp, I heard that it was interesting because it was a large company in the world.
Yes. Yes, if you want to join a bootcamp as well, I've conducted a few. It's actually very interesting. So that's one of the first step you can do is to sign up for our bootcamps, our university bootcamps.
Okay. Okay. So after this, I will pass to Mrs. Sandra to her to sharing to her to go with the sharing session.
Sure,
So,
sure.
Miss.
Thank you, Heidi. Thank you, June, for such an insightful
No, but
sharing.
thank you again for listening to me. It's been interesting to share this journey with you guys. If you
I'll be
if you have any questions you need, just feel free to drop Lysandra a note and then she can be in touch with me. Yeah.
Thank you. I'll be sharing my screen. I think my sharing would be just 5 to 10 minutes. I don't think it will reach 10 minutes. Okay. Could you all see my screen?
Yes. Okay.
Right. So I'll begin. So I am Lysandra Gabriel Story, as you all know. You can call me Lisa, yeah. And I am majoring in finance, not accounting. And I'm here to give you a speech about how I started my journey with Baker Hughes and how I have grown until today. And the first thing, how did I started to know Baker Hughes? That's the big question here, right? I started to know Baker Hughes by LinkedIn account actually. I created that in 2019 and I was actually having a lot of rejections from many companies and I have a lot of applications that was not responded by any of the some of the companies, so that actually pulled me down. And I'm for sure that a lot of you, as a student, you will be having this. And yeah, that is why I'm sharing today. And I get my interview on the I think a month before my intern start. That is by my manager. Her name is Wong Lai Peng, and then after I succeed in the interview session, I was actually appointed as reporting and statutory intern in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. But however, right now I am working from home, and since intern actually I work from home, and until now. Okay, so what are the achievements that I get during my internship? I have two actually. The first one is with an India audit team. Actually, the team is based in part of it based in India and part of it is in Kuala Lumpur. And we actually had a challenging audit. It was ongoing for a year, and that was really something that we treasure the most because it is hard, and that's because the transaction was a little bit different at that time. So the documents are very hard to find, and plus we need to actually engage with the external auditors. And after a year plus, we have actually completed this. So in this particular achievements, we are very proud that we have actually undergo a lot of challenges, and what actually solves the problem is a teamwork. And secondly is the Mexico audit team, and this is also communication and teamwork that matters. We actually finish it faster in that year. That is because we are familiar with the procedure of the audit packs. And actually, what is very good in this team is they are very engaging, and they give you advices, they give you alternatives if you have any kind of problems that comes with it. And after 3 months of internship with it's only 3 months though. After 3 months internship, I was offered to be the university ambassador by my manager, Scott Paxton, that is the leader of controllership and in GFC Malaysia. And I think for this, I am very grateful to have this because I would like to promote this company. It's another great company that students should know. That is because the culture that I am having, the culture is very positive, and the leaders would give you lots of advice, lots of guidance for you to actually start. Right, moving on. The key learnings that I get is first, understanding the responsibilities. Understanding responsibilities in the sense that you kind of have a sense of purpose in the thing that you are doing. Like, why are you doing it? You have to know. And indirectly, it actually gives you a forwarded mindset, how you can improve in a team, or how can you solve a solution. And next, the thing that I get from this is that I consistently ask advices from my manager. What can I improve? What can we improve as a team? So that itself has impacted a lot of the teams in my team and a lot of interns as well. We group as a team. And next is actually problem solving. This is the key element to the working setting, and I am for sure that every working setting will have problems, that we cannot deny that problems arises everywhere else. So the first thing that we need to have is a good communication. As Miss June mentioned, communication, asking is very important, because you do not want to get the things delayed as well. You also want to have your work efficiently done. And next is the teamwork. Teamwork is really, really, really important. That's because you are not working as an individual. You work as a team for us to actually move forward, to become more efficient in a working setting. And thirdly, it's of course networking. I think all of the students should know how to actually communicate with all the leaders, and this is very beneficial for the career advancement in a way that you think which pathway that you want to go. You ask for advice, and in that way you know what your future will be like. And I'm closing the remarks with a quote: the capacity to learn is a gift, and the ability to learn is a skill. The willingness to learn is a choice. So in my opinion, we should never stop learning. Even though we have work, I think learning does not stop there. As Miss June said, that is because as human brain is work, as it works that way, we should always improve ourselves. There's always more rooms to improve ourselves. We can never be perfect in any areas. Right. So the last one is, I would like to actually ask you guys to vote for our company in Graduates Choice Award and stand a chance to actually win iPhone 12. The voting procedure is firstly to actually go to www.award.com.my, and then you vote for the oil and gas categories, and it is as simple as that. And you don't want to miss the iPhone 12. All right. So that is actually all from my side.
Okay. So we have seen in the slider currently there are no questions from the students. But I would say to all the students, regardless you are in Unimas or whether you are in Philippines, it's I think there's this misconception that accounting students should go intern at accounting firms or even work at accounting firm. I think this is a wrong misconception. And then we are very thankful for Miss Yume and Mr. Sandra because this really showcases there are other opportunities that are available out there. Not only in there are not only career paths in like big four firms or even accounting firms. All the industry need accountants, and there are opportunities there. So
It's very true.
I think that's all. Heidi, I'll pass it to you.
Hello, Sandra. So, I want to ask, what is the requirement to we to be the ambassador of Baker Hughes?
Actually, I get to be an ambassador by recognition from my leader. For me to there's no specific requirements. It is as simple as the leader seeing potentials in you that you can actually spread the brand towards the students, towards the university. And I think the first thing that is really important is being brave, being confident to actually approach and engage with the universities. We may have a lot of procedures that is coming in from our side and from the university side, and that is actually the challenges in it. And am I answering your question?
Yes, thank you. Um,
I'm actually quite surprised no one actually asked what is the interview like and how do we succeed in interviews. I think that's a very good question. Maybe Miss June could share how to excel, how to ace their interviews. Like interviews are the first step besides resume.
How to ace an interview. Like I said earlier, right? I think when I do interviews, I look out really for how interested the candidate is and how much passion the candidate has for a job with the company. And nowadays, information is available everywhere, right? So I would strongly encourage people to turn up for a job interview to at least do some research, spend some time to research about the company that you're looking at, as well as the role that you are interviewing for. I do have some candidates that actually came to me that actually researched my background as well. So I was quite impressed with that because essentially when the recruiter arrange interviews, they sometimes will tell you who will be interviewing you, but sometimes they won't actually give the name as well. So I was quite impressed that some people actually took the time to go through LinkedIn to find out about me. Initially, I was a bit like, "Whoa, are you stalking me?" But I guess it is. It is. I mean, it is quite. It shows that effort, that initiative that you have in preparing for the interview. I think that is a very first big step, right? And then, as I said, come to the interview with a genuine interest to find out about the job, ask questions. An interview is not just for us to be questioning the candidates all the time. It is also an opportunity for you to find out about the role that you are actually seeking employment for, right? And to find out about the company. Now, if you come into an interview and then we talk about the company, we talk about the role, we la 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 la, and at the end of the day, we give you a chance to ask questions and you have no questions to ask, right? It kind of reflect that one, you're probably not listening, or two, you're not so interested, right? Because if you are really have this inquisitive nature to find out more, you would have questions to ask. And that is what I think everyone should remember what an interview process is for, not just for us to be asking the candidate question, but an avenue for you to also be asking questions to find out more about the role and the company.
So the good question would be, what is the role, or what what is the daily responsibilities? Is it like that?
Something along that lines, but also what is expected of me in this particular role. What are the characteristics you're looking for? What will make me excel in this role so that I can prep before I turn up for the job, for example. And yeah.
Great.
And one last piece of advice in terms of interviews, right? I've learned this over the years of especially working in Baker Hughes.
Yeah.
Try not to ask about the salary, right? We will compensate based on what we feel is the most fair and just compensation, but try not to bring salary into the picture, because you do not want to give your prospective employer that you're only out there looking for a job because of the salary, right? I mean, obviously, I know at the back of all our minds, we are working for the salary. Of course, why we puta working here for no reason? We're not blindly sitting here and spending our time working, right? Obviously, the salary is important, but try not to make that the only questions you have about the role. Okay, the impression you should be giving is really your interest in this role and how it will help you grow, rather than monetary wise, right? Like I said, as long as you put in the effort, the monetary rewards will come somewhere along the way down the road, right? So don't worry about that. Okay.
That is actually one of my mistakes. Yeah. For my first interview, I had no experience with interviews before, and I've undergone maybe 10 interviews for my internship. I applied maybe 20 applications. So the first interview, I was a bit nervous and I didn't know what to ask. So it just came out from my mind. But I got rejected, and it's nothing to be ashamed about. Honestly, it's something that I learned along the way. Yeah.
And I think and as I look back of all the candidates I've interviewed before, right, the one that really hit me in a negative way was I had this candidate who came in and I asked, so why are you looking for a change in your job? Why are you looking for a role with Baker Hughes? And then he said, oh, I've been in, I don't know which big four now, in the big four environment for 1 year. I've learned everything. There's nothing to learn anymore. Like,
Confident.
whoa, right? Too confident will make you just sound very, very arrogant. And
Yeah.
then I asked as well, what do you think are some of your strengths and weaknesses, right? And so he listed out all these strengths. And when it comes to the weaknesses side, he said, I have no weaknesses.
Wow.
You know, I'm not looking for that type of answer. I'm looking for someone who is able to think, to reflect into themselves, to address your weaknesses, right? None of us are perfect, right? So all of us have some form of weakness, but really it's really how we want to address that weakness, you know. Obviously, you tell them, oh, I have this weakness, I'm not being able to manage time properly, for example, then you obviously counter back with, but I'm also trying to write down a to-do list, to prioritize my time, you know. You are giving people the impression that, yes, I have weaknesses, I address it, I acknowledge it, and I'm doing something to fix it, right? And that is fine. We are all humans, but to come in and tell me I have no weakness, like, okay. So don't do that in your future interviews.
Miss Miss June, I'm curious. Um, let's not talk because we don't want to talk. Maybe don't want to talk about the salary and others. But what do you think are the best perks of working in Baker Hughes? Like for their well-being, or what the highlights of it?
I think in Baker Hughes, so we don't talk about the salary, because I will say that, and I will confidently say that Baker Hughes remuneration package is very, very competitive with the market, and it can be a bit higher than what is out there as well. The main benefit I feel working from Baker Hughes is obviously the non-monetary wise benefit, right? Like the recognition you get for all the hard work that you put in. If you are a very good talent, you would see that the company does a lot of things to help grow you, to groom you. We have a lot of sessions with HR to recognize talent, to talk about how we want to groom this talent, to see what is their future career path for this talent. And like I said, opportunities to not just work in one particular function. So we always encourage people to rotate around the functions. If you have been in the revenue function for a year or two, we will start looking for ways to push you to do other functions like payroll or inventory, just to make sure that your knowledge is extensive, right? And also to I think the one of the good benefits with us is there is a lot of opportunity to learn and to also, like I said, have the opportunity to move into a different environment. Not just with the finance center. The finance center is more like a shared service environment. We also have the other very strong finance function, which is the financial planning and analysis. I think, yeah, financial planning and analysis. That team is the one that works very closely with the operations to generate the numbers, to help the operations in terms of contracts, in terms of bidding, in terms of achieving their financial plans for the years. They work very, very closely with the business, right? So there is that vast career path that you can choose, not just being with just a shared service center, for example. And then there is also the treasury function, the tax function, the internal audit function, various. We also have, like Lisandra has met Jessica, right? Jessica is actually our HR for finance, but she actually started off as an accountant, yeah? She's actually from PwC as an auditor. She moves into GE as an accountant, and then she moved to HR. So again, the complete range of career growth that you can go to is to me in Baker Hughes is kind of the sky is the limit, and you really set it for yourself where you want to go, I guess.
Yes, I think the best part is that it helps us to develop as an all-rounder rather than just a direct path of
Correct.
one route. I
Correct.
think we have some questions for the Slido. Heidi and Isan, you may take the lead.
Okay, so for the first question is for you, listener. So the question is, what is the greatest challenge you experience when you work as an intern at Baker Hughes?
I think first and foremost is language barrier, because you get in my role I get to work country spread like Asia Pacific, Middle East, and the thing that I struggle a lot during the time is that I need to actually listen carefully for what they are saying. Sometimes their tone are too fast, sometimes it is too slow. And how do I actually voice out, like, are you too slow? Could you please repeat something like that in a professional communications? And I think along the way there is like um accounts that we need to actually settle, and it actually needs your basic knowledge of accounting. And don't actually think your basic knowledge is of no use. It is very useful in terms of how can it cancel each other, is it where does this number goes, it is very beneficial in terms of analytical skills. And in terms of your communications with your supervisor as well, you need to consistently get back to your supervisor and ask for updates, or you update what is on your side from day to day basis. And I think it is very important for us to being able to cooperate with the teamwork. Yeah. I think as a person, you need to think in a forward mindset, in a way that you want your work to be efficiently done as a team. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So we have one more question. So the last question is, what is your vision for the upcoming days, and how do you plan to make it happen?
Is it for me?
Yes, it's for you.
Okay. So my vision, I actually see myself expanding in my responsibilities, be it in payroll, be it in inventory. And I actually am thinking of taking the certificates for me to being able to understand the accounting side more, because now I am in finance. It's a little bit much more different and much more on the surface than what is in the than what is in an accounting. So I think I'm looking forward to take certifications, and also as for now, I am looking forward to take the program as Aspire program, in which we are centered in a few locations that is in headquarters, and we have rotations. In a 2 years time, we have rotations in which I can understand the business operations even more deeply, and I think it could be very beneficial for me as an individual.
So just to add on a bit, right, the Aspire program is like a graduate trainee program with Baker Hughes. It's with the finance function. It is for 2 years, and during this 2 years period, I think you have 3 to 4 different rotations. So you spend 6 months in different finance functions to sort of have a background of each of the finance functions out there and flavor of what is expected in Baker Hughes, right? And once you graduate from that program, then you get to choose where would be the function or the group that you want to continue on in a more permanent role. So the Aspire program is very challenging. I think how they select and shortlist the candidate is also quite strict. They follow quite not everyone would qualify for that. I guess they do look at certain criteria. So I hope Lissandra clarifies can get that Aspire program. I really think you would qualify for that. And it would be a very interesting career path for you if you get to be an Aspire graduate.
Thank you, Miss June. Actually, I have a question regarding how is the probability that we can get a permanent spot in Baker Hughes after we intern at Baker Hughes?
If you're an intern with Baker Hughes and you had very good feedback on your performance from your managers, I would think you will probably even get a role before you graduate, right? So as long as you have an interest to come back to us as a full-time employee, we definitely would give you that priority, right? We encourage that. We do have a metrics that actually tracks how many of the interns that has been converted to a full-time employee. Now, if you have missed any internship opportunity and if you still want to come and apply for a position with us, that is also encouraged as well. It doesn't mean that you must start as an intern in order to be a full-time employee, right? If you have an internship, is good, but if you do not have, also just apply and try and see. Like again, you never know until you apply. I cannot guarantee that you'll be employed. You obviously need to interview the person as well. So, but just try. There's no harm in trying.
All right, thank you, Ms. June, Maggie, for the information, and thank you also for Mr. Sandra for the opening and inspirational sharing regarding career as professional accountant and auditor. And of course, thank you again to all participants for staying until the end of the session. And I hope you guys are enlightened on this topic. And before we dismiss, a gentle reminder to all participants, we will be having the next webinar session in the afternoon at 2 p.m. With our representatives from SCCA, and the link will be provided before the session starts.
Thank you, June, for your sharing, and thank you, everyone. I hope you guys are looking forward for a bright future in your accounting and finance background, and all the best to you.
Thank you again for having me and listening to me, and I wish you guys all the best. Focus on your studies first, of course, get your degree done, and the rest will come along as it goes along, right? So good luck. Thanks again.
Thank you, Miss June. Thank you, Miss Cassandra.
Thank you.
Okay, alright guys. For now, you can have a break or take a nap or you can go for a lunch. We will be right back at 2 p.m. And don't forget, currently we are also have an ongoing contest, which is photo contest with the Chinese New Year team and also the game to find the culprit. You can head to our Instagram, Univac Official, if you wish to join any of this event. Monetary reward will be given as you will see in the screen. This is the second hint for finding the culprit to those who are interested in joining the game. Okay, thank you. So after this, you guys can scan the attendance and goodbye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye, Miss June.
Goodbye. Thank you, and participants. See you guys in the afternoon.
Come back to me again. Tell me your love again. 넌 제자리고 I still love you. 너가 채워주던 내 모든 것들이
Thank you, Alejandra.
흘러가 느껴 전부
Welcome. I hope you guys enjoyed that.
We did.
마음으로는 왜날 사랑한다 해놓고 너 도망치려 해 우리 사랑의 race 끝날 수 없게 back 지금 돌아서면 다시 돌아갈 수 없다고 해 다시 한번 내게 말해줘 나를 사랑한다고 해줘 Don't let me alone, baby. Just get further than baby. Yeah. 날 떠나지 않겠다고 말해줘. Tell me your love again. Come back to me again. Yeah. Tell me your love again. Come back to me again. 너가 문득 내 맘을 달고 흔들어 날 어지럽게 내가 문제 알아면 왜 항상 질문을 던지는 건데 Oh why 서두르다가 Oh why 서둘러지니 I'm the child 너가 바람대로 못돼 Have a good night 자장가는 필요 없대 It's my question, many questions 사람들이 바라본 난 누구냐고 my 호흡에 다른 밤 같은 nightmare Why 기억나 날 너가 부셔버린 밤에 내가 다칠 것 같아 Blah 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 I'll talk too much Don't waste my time 여기까지만 Hey I pull at the strings when I'm pissed off 사람들만 나지 난 좀 twisted but the fit is to the point 고민하는 게 세영이라면 내 머리는 그걸 빙빙 도는 earth all day I'm alert, it's a curse, yeah it hurts I don't know my own strength There's a lot that I don't know But you learn when you don't know Red on my Valentino 부실래는 책임감 자유로울 때까지 뒤는 돌아봐 고만남이 되고 싶어서 이 싸워봐 프로페인 불어와 니는 going out 그렇게 느껴지는 one mind 가시길을 숙이 무너진 너 I get so bitter But the liquor I don't feel the same on the day Tell me later I'm a child 너가 바란 대로 못돼 Hey for the night 자장가는 필요 없대 It's my question, many questions 사람들이 바라본 난 누구야 Who am I, who are they 다른 밤 같은 nightmare Hey, oh why 혹시 누군간 공감할까 지금만큼은 알아주면 안 될까 Oh yeah, sorry Whoa, yeah, yeah I'm saying No, 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 no I'm saying what's on my mind I'm trying to spend this day just like yesterday Oh, yeah, yeah
I don't feel a single thing. Have the pills done too much? Haven't caught up with my friends in weeks, and now we're out of touch. I've been driving in LA, and the world it feels too big. Like a floating ball that's bound to break. Snap my psyche like a twig. And I just wanna see if you feel the same as me. Do you ever get a little bit tired of life? Like you're not really happy but you don't wanna die. Like you're hanging by a thread but you gotta survive. Cause you gotta survive. Like your body's in the room but you're not really there. Like you have empathy inside but you don't really care. Like you're fresh out of love but it's been in the air. And my past repair. A little bit tired of trying to care when I don't. A little bit tired of quick repairs too cold. A little bit tired of sinking. There's water in my bones. I'm barely breathing, trying to stay afloat. So I got these quick repairs too cold. Guess I'm just broken and broke. The prescription's on its way with a name I can't pronounce, and the dose I gotta take. Boy, I wish that I could count, cause I just wanna see